Hey guys, welcome back to Susan Shares. Well, as you can see, I have my favorite guest, Steve, with me, my husband. So welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Good, I'm glad. So we're starting off the new school year, and for many that is just exciting. It makes other people nervous. We've got a lot of kids going back to college, starting school for the very first time, and just newness in the air. And it makes a lot of us contemplative, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So Susan Shares today is kind of being more about how we want to represent ourselves. And across the board, that would be for all of us, even if we're not going back to school, just the newness of how you want to represent yourself. And the reason I invited Steve is because he did just this magnificent job today. I'm going to brag on you. And this is Monday that we're presenting Susan Shares, but he just did a wonderful job just telling a beautiful story of one of our friends and how they represent something. So I'd like for you to kind of share what you were, how you ended a beautiful lesson.
Well, had just been talking about something in the Bible that had been an illustration of such deep devotion, actually of a mother to her sons that had been killed, and how she kept watch over their bodies. Sounds kind of gruesome, but the fact was she spent 6 months probably out in the open keeping vigil. And so, we were just reminded about people in our lives, friends, relatives, folks that have shown such great devotion to different things, ideas, organizations, but mostly other people. And we've got a couple that we know that the husband is in his very last days, and the wife has been so devoted to him over months and months of illness and in and out of the hospital and treatments. And we were just remarking about how she was such an example to people she probably doesn't even realize.
Right.
So there's lots of people that show that kind of devotion, and they might just say, well, it's just what I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But it often speaks volumes to other people. Caretakers of those that are ill, or those that happen to be the caretaker now of someone that has dementia, or long-term illness, or those are just a few examples. But, we just noticed how she's carried herself while being so devoted to him, but also being pretty uplifting to a lot of people. Singing in the choir and still smiling about it while all this is going on, those sorts of things. So we were just talking about, don't miss your opportunity to show some devotion and really let people see who you are, because you never know who's looking and what it's going to mean to them. And so in her case, it's meant a lot to all those that are in church with her, that know her and them well. But I can't imagine what it's meant to so many other nurses and caregivers and healthcare workers that have seen her devotion over this time too.
So I asked Steve to share that because my point is you never know who's watching you. And so you never know who's watching you at school, you never know who's watching you at work, you never know who's watching you at home. You never know the witness you are to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And as humbling as that is, it is very, very true. And so when we say, you've heard me say the phrase before, Lord, help me to represent you well. It is so true in our witness, in our everyday witness, wherever we are. And so this story illustrates that Steve just said. This woman is being a witness and not maybe even knowing it. So what kind of witness are we? I use the time frame of the beginning of a year because as you start a new fresh, it's contemplative to me. How am I going to do it at this time of year? Maybe perhaps somebody going off to college, or maybe you've just dropped somebody off at college, or you're starting a youngster out at school yourself, or maybe you're a teacher starting off a new year, or like us, we're grandparents and we're training our children, or we're just going to work tomorrow, like Steve and I, and we want to represent Jesus well, but we're going to be a witness one way or the other. And is it going to be in a positive way, or is it going to be in a negative way? So we can only do that with Christ in us if it's going to be in a positive way, because not always do we feel good.
No.
Not always are we going to be in a circumstance that would cause us. We could be in a very difficult, really hard time that that in our flesh we would want to do the opposite of representing Jesus well. So if we're clinging to the vine, then we can represent him well, even when we don't want to, is my point. So being intentional at this process that we're talking through, Steve and I, then we can still represent him well, because Christ is doing it in and through me, and in and through Steve. But if I'm in the flesh, it's not going to happen. I've got to be intentional. I've got to ask him to do it. It's not going to happen if just Susan's doing it.
Right. You really have to protect your thought life. I just read today that our actions are the fruit of our deepest thoughts. Mm. So what are you thinking about? If you're a parent, you're often maybe warning your kids about what they listen to or watch. Maybe that's an admonition for all of us. But what are you putting into your head? What are you thinking about? Because often your actions are going to follow that sooner or later. So I would just say, like you're talking about, protect your thought life, because it's going to manifest itself in what you do, certainly maybe what you say. You can cover it up for a while, and sometimes you kind of have to just do some things. You have to start some actions, kind of get disciplined about some things before you feel like it, before your thoughts actually catch up to it. So it can go both ways, but just be careful what you're thinking and what you're putting into your mind.
Right. And staying connected to the vine is the key. So we hope that you have a great day, and we love you.
Happy back to school, by the way, everyone.
Bye-bye.